I have quite a few different ponds of various shapes and sizes. In those ponds I keep a number of different fish and animals. Today I want to talk about my favourites and why they are my favourites. All the fish and animals I'm going to mention are hardy, beginner friendly, and can tolerate a wide variation in temperatures from cold to the tropics. If you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and the aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain a pond without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and visit my website, ozponds.com. So I thought I'd start this off with some overlooked little animals, shrimp, snails, and tadpoles. These are often overlooked because they aren't as visible and aren't as active as fish, but they're so beneficial. I keep two different types of shrimp outdoors year-round. The first is native shrimp that I collect in my local waterways. Previously I'd tried ordering them online, but I didn't have much luck. Most fish and invertebrates that are mass-produced come from warmer areas, and the winters are quite cold where I live, at least by Australian standards. But since collecting my own, I have much better success and now have a self-sustaining population. I also keep common cherry shrimp in a variety of colours outdoors year-round. I have reds, blues, yellows, and lots of bitses. That is, bits of everything. I know that the cherry shrimp are sold as needing warm water, but they really don't. Here my water will drop to 5 degrees Celsius for a few months of the year, and they all do fine. I've also heard from people that have kept them outdoors in ponds that freeze over. I like the cherry shrimp as they're visible. Some people get cross with me when I keep non-natives, and that's fine, I understand their point of view. But I like them, and I'm not doing anything stupid, like actually releasing them into waterways. If you feel strongly about stuff like that, go chat with local authorities that continue to stock local rivers with introduced trout. Both shrimp species are great at eating algae, uneaten food, and even dead fish. They in turn are a good food source for your fish, and if you have plenty of hiding places and keep a self-sustaining population, it works great. Snails are another overlooked critter. Lots of people hate them, but they're pretty much unavoidable, and I think you should learn to love them. I don't think I've ever intentionally added snails to my pond, they just show up on the plants. Like the shrimp, they'll also eat algae and dead stuff. They'll also break down organic waste like leaves. I've also observed them upside down, on the water's surface, and I guess they're feeding on the protein film. Snails are also a good food source for certain fish. Next is tadpoles, and who doesn't love tadpoles? Some people might hate the noise frogs make, and I say you're crazy, but again, I respect your point of view. But tadpoles with their cute little faces and clumsiness, well, they're just wonderful. I love seeing them mature as the season progresses. They're also super beneficial. They'll graze on algae as they need lots of energy to complete their transformation from a tadpole to a frog. But the best part is that they're a net negative in terms of adding waste. They consume a lot to complete their transformation and then they just hop away. When a fish grows, it continues to add waste to the pond. A group of tadpoles will upcycle nutrients and then leave the pond, and that's pretty cool. We have lots of different frog species here. The most common ones I get when I submit the calls to Frog ID are spotted marsh frog, common eastern froglet, striped marsh frog, and the banjo frog or pobble frog. For fish species, I have quite a few favourites. I love common comets and shubunkins, white cloud mountain minnows, and rice fish. Those are my three favourite non-native fish that I keep outdoors year-round, and in a moment I'll talk about each one of them more. For natives, my favourite are rainbow fish and blue eyes. I also keep other native species, but these two are my favourites. I'll put a list in the description of all the natives I keep, and I'll add a link to a page where you can source most of them if you're interested. There are lots of different varieties of rainbow fish. A lot of them are endemic to more tropical regions. However, there are some species that can tolerate cold temperatures. I personally only have experience keeping Murray River rainbows. I believe the strain I have was collected from the Loddon River catchment in Kerrang, and this catchment feeds into the Murray River. Over the years I've spoken with a few people that have successfully kept other rainbows outdoor year-round in Victoria, and lots of fish are much hardier to temperatures than the internet would have you believe. For example, these honey blue eyes are native to an area north of Brisbane, Australia, and that climate is significantly warmer than where I live. In fact, I don't know why I'm still down here. The breeder that supplies me these fish, she keeps them outdoor year round, and I also have Pacific blue eyes. These were bred in northern New South Wales, but they've overwintered here in my ponds no problem. What I really like about the rainbows and the blue eyes is that they're really active. In the warmer weather, you often see them sparring and getting quite territorial as they try and create out a piece of territory where they can spawn. They're also really pretty fish, and they seem to coexist with tadpoles quite well. I do like to add some of these to my dream pond each summer as they're super fun to swim around with. But they can't self-sustain in here as the birds get them. It's just too easy for the birds to get them in the open water. I find to keep them breeding and self-sustaining, I need them in densely planted ponds. Both are great fish for mosquito control, and the blue eyes can be considered a nano fish, so you can keep them in smaller tub ponds. So if you wanted a small native fish for mosquito control in a lotus bowl or in a lily bowl, they'd be an excellent choice. I also have some in a small aquarium next to my computer to keep me company while I edit YouTube videos. For non-native nano fish, you can't go wrong with white clouds or rice fish. Both are colourful, active, and incredibly hardy. Both will also breed really easy in a pond, so you'll certainly have a self-sustaining population. The rice fish are cool in that they carry these little clutches of eggs that you can see, and you can physically remove the eggs, place them in a bucket, and in about 2 weeks you should notice some tiny new fish. With rice fish, I find I get the best results if I separate the eggs from the parents. They obviously eat the fry. The white clouds, on the other hand, I never intervene, and every summer there's more fry. Both these little fish are great for mosquito control and can be placed in small ponds. Rice fish are a great alternative to guppies for those of us in cold climates. They're nice and colourful, so you can easily observe them from the top of the pond. And so when it comes to my favourite fish to observe from the surface, it has to be the comets and the shubunkins. I think goldfish are really quite underrated, and part of it might be to do with that they're often kept in aquariums that are too small, where they look sad and tired. In a pond, they can become quite active, and their colours are super vibrant. They can also grow quite large, though not as large as koi, and that can be a good thing as you won't need as much filtration or maintenance. Goldfish will happily eat away at algae, biofilm and mosquitoes. If there's an abundance of food, they'll breed, and if not, they'll eat their offspring. Plus they're dirt cheap. Every time I purchase goldfish, they're labelled as feeder fish. I don't feed my goldfish and they always grow. The only downside is they're so visible. So every year I lose fish to the birds. For years I didn't have any issue, but once they found me, it was all over. I tend to get hit in the autumn, so each winter I add some more and I give them a good 9-10 months of life before they become a happy meal. They were destined to be something's meal anyway. Again, if you have your opinions, that's fine. But if you consume animals in your diet, please don't judge me. I get 9 to 10 months of enjoyment out of some feeder fish before the local wildlife gets a free feed. That's the circle of life. And of course, I could net the ponds, but I like the natural look. The way the ponds look, sound, and enhance the landscape are what I love the most. I do enjoy the fish, but they're secondary, at least outside in my ponds. I do have some ponds for the rice fish and white clouds that are under the roofline and safe from birds. I also covered the stock tank pond with a shade cloth to keep the rainbows I want to breed safe, and I keep both Pacific blue eyes and honey blue eyes in aquariums indoors where they're safe. But if you keep fish, shrimp, snails and tadpoles outdoors in environments that you hope are naturalistic for them, they're going to get predated on. It's just part of nature. These birds evolved to hunt them, and if we create a self-sustaining population, everyone's a winner. As humans, we've lost or destroyed so many diverse aquatic habitats. Adding a backyard pond, or 9, is, well, it's just so rewarding. It's about more than just the fish. But anyway, I hope the fish on this list gave you some ideas. These are just my personal favourites. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to give the thumbs up button a tickle. Thanks for watching. See ya.